Alongside the reveal of one person who didn't make it out the wilderness, a reminder why Natalie is so hell bent on solving Travis's murder. In terms of new characters this episode, or rather people that we finally got to mention, or had reason to mention, there is Mari, who is one of the junior varsity squad members who pretty much we don't know much about. All that we know is when it comes to past appearances, she was one of the people who have been very vocal about people not doing anything, Jackie, and that's pretty much her claim to fame. The other person who we get to know just a little bit and it becomes worth noting is Akilah, who is one of the other junior varsity members, and she's also the one who pretty much the main thing you may know her for, besides being the other black girl there, is that she used to be a Girl Scout. However, unlike Misty, who did the whole Red Cross babysitter training twice and is shown that to be useful, I wouldn't say that Akilah, being a former Girl Scout, really gets her any type of notoriety. Mainly because it seems that she's forgotten a lot of what happened. The first topic is dealing with everything that's going on in 1996. And one of the first things we have to mention is that Jackie is at that point when she's starting to ask questions when it comes to Shauna, because she's recognizing her best friend is talking to, I wouldn't call Thaisa Jackie's worst enemy, but definitely the person who kind of took her down a notch in terms of her place amongst all the girls. So with Shauna talking mostly to her, whispering and all that, she's questioning what happened in our relationship. So to kind of ease her from being on her case, Shauna reveals that she's pregnant. Okay, follow-up question. Who did you get pregnant by? Why didn't you tell me you had sex? Yada, yada, yada. Shauna tells a lie and says it was Randy, the guy who, in his older state, 2021, 2020, we met and learned that he's having issues with his wife and etc. Jackie doesn't believe this, mainly because the day that Shauna said she lost her virginity is the day that she took Randy home when he was like really badly drunk. But you can tell for like a moment there's this hope with Shauna where she thinks, I hope she just realizes, yes, I'm lying, but it's because I don't want to go deeper into it, and that she'll leave it alone. But Jackie has time on her hands. She doesn't do that. Instead, Jackie decides that she's going to go find Shauna's journal, and with that, she learns the truth that Shauna and Jeff had something going right behind Jackie's back. And of course, tears for her. Not really for us, but tears for Jackie. The next thing worth mentioning is Charlotte's having premonitions again, but it's not something that is violent necessarily. All that Charlotte's premonitions are is that there's going to be a red river, possibly a river of blood, and also red smoke. And this is told to Van, who believes Charlotte. And when it comes to Charlotte like starting to open up about what she sees, it's mainly because Laura Lee is egging her on. And not egging her on like trying to make a spectacle out of it, but definitely trying to have Charlotte believe more in her voice and speak out more. After all, with Laura Lee being somebody of faith and we have Charlotte having visions and everything, it's pretty much the only sign from God for her, which means that maybe there might be some way out of the situation. Which leads us to the last part of this topic, which is Thaisa leading a group out of the camp to try to find some type of help or civilization. This is why we mention Akilah and Mari, because those two, alongside Misty, join Thaisa as well as Van, and it isn't fully clear why Mari and Akilah go. We know Van goes because Thaisa is her secret girlfriend, but Misty's a little bit more of a weird thing, and I would contribute that to Misty in the window sees Thaisa and Ben talking, and maybe, just maybe, she was a little bit jealous of that. So she decided to go with Thaisa for, it's hard to say what the reason is. I wouldn't say she wanted to kill her because it doesn't seem like it was that serious of a conversation between those two. But with Misty, do you ever really know? Because as we've seen, if she can chop off somebody's leg that she likes, potentially loves, who the hell is Thaisa? Anyway, all of them go deep into the forest. They see the Red River that Charlotte had a premonition about, and with that, the compass that Mari's holding, since that's her job and all this, starts going crazy. And with that, Van raises red flag number one. However, for whatever reason, Taissa, when it comes to anything that can't be explained, she completely has an aversion to it and says to never mind that in all of Charlotte's little premonitions. But the second with the red smoke comes up in the form of, at night, as you can imagine, in the woods, especially because it's getting colder, not only are the girls getting hungry, but so are the animals in the woods, such as wolves. So you have Akilah, Misty, Mari, Van, and Taissa, 5 people, girls who I would assume look appetizing to wolves, and at night they come after them. Now, 2 reasons why this has to be mentioned, and that's because one, once again, Taissa has some type of moment where instead of eating dirt at this, like the last time, or even a 2021 version of her, she somehow gets up into a tree in a prone position while being asleep, knocked out, in a trance, whatever you want to call it. While this is happening, Mari, Misty, and Akilah are trying to fend off wolves that are trying to attack them, and Van, at this point, her face is ripped off, she's killed, and the red smoke is from Taissa trying to scare off or possibly kill the wolf using a flare gun. Now, it's not clear what happens after this. All we know for sure is that with Taissa leading this group into the wilderness and one of the members getting killed, that stature that she has gained through finding the cabin, the lake, and all that, she's probably going to get taken down a few notches. The second topic, we're taking it to 2021, and it deals with the blackmail situation. From the beginning, you can tell that Shauna, as much as there's a little bit of excitement when it comes to this situation, with Natalie's inclusion of it, I don't know what's her issue, but apparently there's some kind of beef there. And I don't know if it's something that happened in the past or just the fact that Shauna was, well, technically she kind of became the new Jackie. She's very traditional, kind of conservative, despite the fact, that she's having a full-blown affair. And when you compare that to Natalie, who's a grown-ass woman wearing fishnets to a kid's soccer game, complete opposites. But one of the things that Taissa kind of tries to bring to the situation is when it comes to them dropping off the bag and then waiting for Natalie, Taissa tries to explain to Shauna that Shauna has a family, a husband and a child, just like Taissa has a family with a wife and a son, and with that, they don't have to always think about or deal with what happened in the past and all their trauma. They have these distractions. Because when you think of Shauna having to raise Callie from a baby and all that comes with that, including her marrying Jeff, her going to college and everything, what happened in the past was part of her story, but not her complete story. Then when it comes to Taissa, I don't remember if they said she went to any specific school, but they do know, she got married. Sammy is her child. She used to have a big-time corporate job before she ran for office. So she had a full life. Compare this to Natalie, what did she have? Because even though Shauna's dad and her mom were told divorce sometime back in the 90s, she still had that family life, as did Taissa, who we saw her parents were together, and yes, her grandmother died, but that funeral was not sparse when her grandmother died. There was a lot of family there, so those two have people. Natalie, her father got shot in the face and he's gone. Her mother, as we saw, is a piece of work, and we don't see any other kind of family. All she really had was Travis, and while in the past you can see that her and Travis were close, as time went on, it seems between drugs, alcohol, possibly breakups, makeups, and her developing a potential, I think when she was in rehab, it was also for sex addiction. She didn't have the same type of means, at least healthy means, to deal with her trauma, or at the very least have a distraction from it. So Taissa tries to get Shauna to understand that and develop some kind of empathy. But one of the things that takes Shauna off of this path of criticizing is the fact that eventually someone does pick up that bag, and while originally they just think it was the person who picks up all the donations because they put it to a donation bin, they see a guy run off with it, and while Shauna is using a car to try to fend them off, Natalie and Taissa are chasing them into the store, and Taissa even knocks the man down, but unfortunately she doesn't grab at his mask or anything. So at the end of this, all that we know is it's definitely a man who stole the money, but why is he stealing it? Who is it exactly? My theory is Javi, but someone on the website has their theory, which I'll post here. And it's a good alternative, because what they say basically is that Jeff could be the person, and the woman that he met up with at the hotel, that could be Laura Lee in the prison. And with thinking that, it really does boost Jeff's situation, because right now he's just Shauna's husband that's cheating on her. But if you add Laura Lee to the situation, it complicates things, especially because for whatever reason almost everybody has a theory which makes Laura Lee seem like she's going to go down a dark path. And while I can see that happening, because she is definitely one of the people who are eating somebody's entails later on in the season, or maybe next season, who knows, when they're going to actually get to the cannibal part, a part of me kind of questions why people want to keep having her go down this dark path. But I can see it. I don't know. I kind of want somebody to remain good out of all this, because at this point, everybody's so twisted in their own little way that I want someone who was able to attain some kind of normal. Which, by the way, when we talk about someone trying to obtain normal, definitely not getting nowhere near it, we have to bring up Misty, who has Jessica down in her basement, and she draws some information out of her, mostly by threatening Jessica's father by putting fentanyl into chocolate and saying that she'll send it to him, because she already set up everything for conversation about chocolates getting sent to Florida anyway. So what we learn is that she looked into Travis and Travis's death, and she didn't get nothing out of him. She also, very important point, she mentions that she works for Taissa, which, Missy's gonna put in her back pocket for now. And probably the most important thing is that when she was looking into Travis's death and found out about it, while she didn't get to the point of learning why he was killed, she did learn that his bank account got closed a day or so after he died, which does push you to wonder, maybe Javi lived throughout all this, and maybe he could be the person that robbed. And maybe he's the person that robbed Taissa, Natalie, and Shauna, but between Javi and Jeff, it has to be one of those two, since those are the only two people who lived, much less with Ben, he's missing half a leg, so he definitely can't run that fast, much less get knocked down by Taissa and then pick up and keep moving quickly. The last topic pretty much deals with the aftermath of the chase. One of the things that we should have mentioned in topic 2, we're going to bring to topic 3, is that Natalie took Kevin's gun for this, for protection, or maybe to actually kill the person, who knows. And she does fire off a shot. She tries to holster his gun back and hope that he doesn't notice, but Kevin knows the weight of his gun, and with him being a cop, he has to account for every time that his gun is used. Natalie decides she's just gonna lie about what it was used for, said that she went to the park or whatever after she got some smokes and it accidentally went off, and be it because Kevin knows Natalie well enough, or just the fact that generally, or through his job, he knows how to spot a liar, he doesn't buy it and starts asking her the kind of questions which are, kind of insulting, like, has she been high or anything like that. And with that, you can kind of see with him trying to figure out what's going on and not giving her that kind of grace and, feeling that he trusts her that she got in the last episode, she decides it's time to cut things off. She pretty much downplays whatever they were doing thus far that she was kind of hyping up to Shauna and Taissa, and just says that his crush was cute, they was just fucking, and right now she's done. It's over. And he doesn't really fight for it, probably because he already can foresee all the drama. Maybe, I don't know how much Kevin knows about Natalie's past, but you can definitely tell he wanted to give her a second chance, but this pretty much shows anything that was negatively said about her probably was true, and it gets confirmed in that moment. Now, while Natalie is dealing with that, Shauna is trying to sneak Adam out of her house. Because it wasn't enough for Shauna to have this wild goose chase, know a gun went off, and all that. Adam pops up at her doorstep, sleeps overnight after convincing Shauna that he is the one and whatever. And Jeff gets back. Adam has to hide in the closet and waits in there until Jeff takes a shower, because if you go by the commoner's story, he probably had glitter on him and had to get it cleaned off. We'll find out in the next episode when Shauna cleans that bathroom, because I doubt Jeff cleans anything but his plate, and that's by eating it, whether or not that's true or not. But getting to the point, Adam hides in the closet until Jeff goes in the shower, and then off he goes. From what we assume, Callie doesn't catch him on the way out, but who knows? Right now, that information could be revealed in the next episode. With this episode, strangely enough, after having so many episodes which had an on-the-fence topic, there's nothing but highlights. And the first highlight deals with just appreciating how powerless you can see sometimes the ladies feel, especially when it comes to what happened in the past and the different means they try to get a handle on it now, and the struggle they have to keep a hold of it. Like, just to start off with Natalie, you can see when it comes to her, drugs, alcohol, sex, all that used to be a distraction or a means to deal with not just what happened in the wilderness, but also her home life. And with Kevin, you can kind of see she was flirting with the idea of normalcy, maybe trying to get what Shauna has and what also Taissa has, since, alongside Kevin being somebody with a stable job, no notable flaws that could really set off red flags, he has 2 kids. So in a way, Natalie would have inherited all sense of normalcy that has pretty much not been her life thus far. Yet, maybe like Shauna, in a way, when it comes to her relationship with Jeff and possibly leaving him for Adam, you can see a sense of fear. Because as much as you want to understand that the reason why Natalie kind of went off or decided to downplay her relationship with Kevin was because she probably isn't ready to tell him the truth or how he may take the truth, at the same time, I feel that she doesn't trust that he would have continued to give her the kind of grace that she appreciated if she told him the full story, because, as I think I said in a past episode, you can easily foresee Kevin being somebody that Natalie's using to deal with this Travis thing, because one of the things when it comes to Travis I feel that you have to take note of when it comes to Natalie investigating him is she needs him to not be someone who commits suicide, because just the way of how much they were been bonded for all this time and how much they went through together, if he's capable of committing suicide, what does that say about her? For yes, Taissa paid for her rehab and all that type of stuff, but it shows that she's still struggling. And while she may not have touched drugs right now, and when it comes to Kevin, she had probably maybe the most stable, romantic, however you want to put it, sex. She does drink this episode, and we don't know whether or not that's going to be the beginning of her downfall. And then when it comes to Shauna, you can tell that when it comes to Adam and this whole idea of running away with him, it's more silly to her than romantic, because like she showed with Callie, she's not really trying to blow up her life. Yes, her life isn't that great. The man that she maybe loved at one time clearly has I would say maybe he does love her, but not in a romantic sense. It's more as of a time spent type of situation. So they're not like brother and sister and anything like that, but you can definitely tell the passion is pretty much out the window. Sexual attraction, it's there when he has the need or the lust, but it's not something which he can rely on. And I don't think with the way Adam presents himself, he's a fun time. He helps her try to regain or have moments of the youth that she lost, but actually getting with somebody who's a mechanic and an artist, losing this house for some guy that she met because of a fender bender. Yes, she wants to be reckless, but you can see with Shauna, she likes a certain amount of control when it comes to her chaos, and her fear of like really starting over, especially transitioning from one relationship that began with cheating to another one that began the same way. I don't think that, as much as she likes familiarity, and that's probably why she stays with Jeff, I don't think when it comes to starting a relationship with that much issues, she's really trying to stick to that. She'd rather stick to what she knows. And then with Thaisa, let's be real. Her and Simone are not that cute of a couple. They're not really that intimate or romantic. And while we've seen Shauna on occasion have Jeff in a way that makes them seem like something could be, and of course with Natalie and Kevin we had that moment, have we gotten that with Thaisa and Simone at all? And I don't fully know or remember what their background is, since I don't feel like they developed their relationship much beyond they're both being parents to Sammy, but I do think that she's definitely just in this place of familiarity like Shauna, and with no options, and of course with this secret of her for some reason eating dirt and occult stuff happening around her, she'd rather stick to somebody who possibly knows but keeps her mouth shut about it, rather than meet somebody new who may ask questions, because even though Thais is not an addict and has all those issues, she clearly has something that she's suppressing and doesn't want to get out. So to meet somebody new, have to possibly explain it to them or just hope they never find out or catch her, it's too much to deal with. The next highlight comes from the pending drama. As of now, there's two things that we know are bound to happen, probably by the season finale. In the past, Jackie, sooner or later, she's gonna reveal that Shauna cheated on her. Shauna slept with Jeff, she's pregnant, and I don't know when or why she's gonna use it, but I do know, just because of the way Jackie's been portrayed thus far, it's probably gonna be to get sympathy. And whether or not with, Thaisa accidentally getting Van killed, this may lead to Jackie regaining that prominent position or not, it's hard to say. But with the way Jackie needs to regain her social equity in that group, more than likely she's going to use this information to try to get back to where she used to be. And maybe I don't think that she's going to try to blackmail or hint around with Shauna, just because I don't know Jackie for being subtle, but I definitely think she's going to try to do something that's dramatic and definitely public. Now, while that's happening in the past, I do think that Misty's going to use that information that Jessica worked for Thaisa either one or two ways. One, she may use it to get closer to Thaisa because she knows part of her secret, and maybe she'll use it so that her and Thaisa are forced to be together more. Maybe she'll babysit Sammy more and feel like she's one of the family so that she doesn't feel as isolated as you can clearly see she does. Though, she could also use it to try to pit Natalie and Shauna against Thaisa and kind of use this whole look what she did to us, and try to use that whole us thing that we shared as reason to be angry at Thaisa to try to feel closer to Shauna and Natalie and be part of their group. Because at this point, when it comes to Jackie and Misty, all they really have is trying to, what am I trying to say? When it comes to those two characters, you can see they're kind of one note, and all they can do is just keep harping on what they've always been doing. With Jackie, it's harping on how she used to be popular, how she used to have all these wonderful things, and now it's increasingly being taken away from her, so she has reason to figure out a way to try to get that back, whether it's cutting down Natalie, possibly using Shauna Shauna sleeping with her boyfriend to possibly get sympathy, whatever it takes. And then with Misty, she, in a way like Jackie, is looking for the opportunity to get back some type of position where she feels included, where she feels notable, and I won't say both would do it by any means necessary, because clearly Misty would go far beyond what Jackie's capable of. But the drama that's going to come from these two is definitely going to help elevate how things are in the past, and also help elevate how things are in the present day. The next highlight is going to be Travis's impotence, which I know is a very strange thing to highlight, but one of the things we didn't do with both the red review or the video recap is go into Natalie and Travis trying to be intimate. But one of the reasons we have to definitely mention as a highlight is Travis doesn't fit into that mold that you usually get for teen TV shows or even movies. For one, Travis is not built like an R&B superstar. He doesn't have abs on abs on abs. He isn't like decked out physique that makes him look like a jock. He has an average body, attractive face, but what really kind of drives the point of why Travis needs to be in highlight and even his impotent situation is that despite him not being able to get it up, not being perfect, he's still shown as somebody that's attractive. He's still shown as someone that has value. And I don't think you really get that kind of guy on shows like this. More often than not, they're this perfect dude, and even when it comes to people like Natalie, they may butt heads all throughout the movie or out throughout the show, but then they have sex and it's this grandeur and very lustful moment. Yet with Travis, we get something that's more normalized in terms of, yes, it seems like he had an erection when he was getting head, but then when it was time for having sexual intercourse, penetrative intercourse anyway, that's when he wasn't able to maintain his erection and shit happens. I don't know how else to put it. And just normalizing things like that, and you seeing that Natalie didn't make it into a joke, and probably she won't be telling everybody, and she kind of made it seem like she didn't like him less for that. It helps when it comes to what is I'm trying to say. While for a lot of media there's a lot of focus on body image and issues that women go through because of representation, I feel that Travis kind of deals with the representation boys go through in terms of what is expected, and with the character representing someone who is by no means perfect when it comes to a relationship, especially when it comes to the intimate parts. It's a good counterbalance to everything that most guys would see when it comes to what's put out there, especially when it comes to what teenagers go through. The last highlight, which is kind of messed up to say, is Van's death. And the main reason it's a highlight for us is the 1996 version of these characters, I feel, have kind of gotten stagnant. Like, yes, Charlotte is going through her visions, Jackie and Shauna is about to have some beef, and of course, Natalie has her thing with Travis, and Taissa has a thing, well, she did have a thing with Van, and was, every now and then butting heads with occasional people. And of course, there's Misty and Ben, but I don't feel like, considering the situation they were in, and of course, everything that we're expecting to happen in the past, that things were going in a type of pace that showed any sense of urgency. So with Van dying, that kind of upped the ante a little bit and brought a little bit more attention and interest back to the 96 version of these characters. For while the likelihood of another character dying anytime soon by like the end of the season is not that high, at the same time, now you're being reminded, hey, everybody probably doesn't make it out of this situation. And right now, the only people that we know for sure live was Travis, who got killed or committed suicide, Taissa, Misty, Shauna, and Natalie. That's 5 people, and there's far more than 5 characters back in the 96 version. At this point, we still have to figure out if Charlotte lived. We have to figure out if Laura Lee lived. The likelihood of Ben living is not that high, especially based off of various theories that we've seen in the comment section. Then, of course, there's now Marty. Why do I want to say her name for Spanish accent? There's Marty and also Akilah, and I want to say there's other junior varsity members that we haven't really learned about that much who can probably come into play, but that's almost as many characters that we know are alive as characters that could potentially be dead. So hopefully we don't have to wait too long for answers, because I don't know how long we are into, like, I think it was 19 months they were lost in the wilderness, but it's been getting very slow, and I need them to pick it up. And fans deaf, I'm hoping it's just not a quick adrenaline shot, but a sign that we're starting to really get going somewhere.